What's going on, guys? Welcome back to A&E Podcast.
Let's get right into the very beneficial.
Well, like something like that.
Good. See, and it's clear.
And you're spilling it all over this
Cans are hard to Alright, ready?
Because I was just like, oh, look at them. Good for them.
What's your favorite or best performance? Who would you say are your favorites personally? Who is your favorite person to call? And also, if there's a difference, who's your favorite person to watch live? If it's not the same thing, what was your favorite call there?
Definitely my favorite so far. This is my favorite performance.
What is going on, guys, and welcome back to a long-awaited episode of A&E Podcast. For Bailey Driscoll, I'm Tom Luthner, and welcome back. We apologize for the time off. Schedules weren't matching, but we are back, and we are going to be talking about the NBA's Eastern Conference today, which I think is very weak, and we're going to get into it. So we're going to start off with what teams we think are completely out of contention and a brief reason why before getting into our contenders and some moves that they could make to possibly win the finals this year, which I don't think anybody's taking down the Nuggets, of course, but we'll get into that on another episode. So I'm going to start off with my teams that are out of contention. Obviously, we're starting off with the Pistons.
Dude, what?
I know. I hope they win more games. I might go to Detroit to get some Wingstop. So I don't know what they have to do exactly, but my thing is I think that they have to stop going after players who are young from other teams who haven't panned out there. For example, they have Bagley, they have Wiseman. I think they do have a bright future with Jalen Duren and Kate Cunningham, obviously. But I do think that they should dump Bojan Bogdanovic to a contender.
Yeah.
So that they do get the draft compensation for him, because I do think that they could get a couple picks for him. But again, stop going after the players that weren't good on other teams and move on from them. I have to look back at Bagley and Wiseman's contracts, but just let them walk. They're not going to do anything. They prove that they're not that good. If you want to try to keep them and maybe throw them under Jalen Duren, go ahead and do so, but they're not going to make a difference. Move on to my next team, which is the Washington Wizards. The move for Poole, I guess I understand it. You want that guy to build around now, and he is good. Well, I don't know. He was good in the Warriors. Doesn't look too good now. I do think that you move Kyle.
Warriors just have a really good system. It's hard to be a bad player on the Warriors.
Yeah, unless you're Chris Paul. But I do agree with that. But I think that he needs help. He looks so good because he was surrounded by so much talent. And now that he's not,
Exactly.
he doesn't look that good. So I think that you try to move Kyle Kuzma for a draft compensation. Same thing with the Pistons. You move him to a contender. There's going to be teams that are contending that want him. And I think that you go after a big man. Listen, I love Daniel Gafford. I'm a big Daniel Gafford fan. But a 6'9" big man that can't shoot isn't going to do anything for you anymore.
Yeah.
Moving on to the Hornets, I think the same thing. Listen, Mark Williams is really good. But I think that they're going in the right direction. With that Rozier trade. Rozier is 27 to 29 in that age range. Gordon Hayward has to go, and I think that they know that, so they're moving him for draft compensation. So I think that they're going in the right direction. I think that they're the first out of the three teams I just spoke about that are actually going in that right direction. LaMelo's still young, and I think they have to do what the Pacers are doing and help out LaMelo, which they haven't been doing. But that Rozier trade was good. Get rid of him. I think they said that they're either going to try to move Lowry before cutting him, and then after the deadline, they're looking to cut him. Another team out of contention for me are the Raptors. I think that, again, they're going in the right direction with the trades that they made. You get rid of OG, who's 27. You get RJ, who's a younger OG Anunoby, possibly a better scorer. Emmanuel Quickley, young talent. Gary Trent Jr. is not too old. So I think that they're going in the right direction. Move on to Chicago Bulls. Blow it up. Just get rid of the people. It's too late.
It's long overdue for them to blow up.
Yeah, keep Kobe White, keep Io, and blow everything up. Maybe Pat Williams, blow everything else up. The team is they're not good. Yeah, you forget that they have because they're such an irrelevant team.
Yeah,
there's no relevancy in the Chicago Bulls now because, again, Levine's heading towards the end of his career. He's still a little bit younger, but DeRozan's done. Drummond's done. I think that Drummond should go to a contender. I'll get to him later, actually, because I think there's teams that should move for him.
Mm-hmm.
But Vucevic too. Vucevic, I believe, is in his 30s. He's got to go. He's not a defensive center, so maybe another contender should go after him. But you got to figure out what to do. Lonzo's his career might even be over after these knee injuries. I know he's saying he's feeling better, but he says that every year. And I think teams are going to try to move for Caruso. And then my last two teams are the Nets. Again, I think that they're in the same spot as the Hornets. They're moving in the right direction. I think that they're a few players away. I think they got to move their vet guys for some picks, and they'll be all right. And the last team I'm going to go with that are out of contention completely are the Atlanta Hawks. And I know that they're not when it comes to seed-wise, and I know that there's a play and everything, but I don't think that they're legitimate contenders because they keep trying to pair duos that do not work. I think that with John Collins, it didn't work much. Listen, he had a little bit of a jump shot. He was an athletic power forward who's small, playing with Clint Capella, who's only 6'10", and he's a paint beast, so he's not going to move from there. I think Okongwu's very good. I don't think that Okongwu and Capella work well together, but I think that they need to move Capella to another contender, and I'll get to that in another episode. And I think that they have to stop trying to – you can't pair Trey with a guy like DeJounte, who was a ball-dominant point guard in San Antonio, who plays defense. I think you need to get him a legitimate shooting guard. The team worked well when they had Kevin Huerter there. They worked well when they had DeAndre Hunter and Kevin Huerter in the same starting five. And I think that they'll continue to work well if they get the right guys for Trey.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't fully disagree with that. I'm a little surprised. So you have the Magic as possibly contending?
Yeah, and I'll get to it when we get to that point where we talk about contending and why I think that they are. But I mean, they're the 8th seed right now, and this is the best we've ever seen them. So I'll get to it later. So if you want to talk about your non-contenders now, I know we'll get over to the point why I think they contend.
Yeah, okay. I won't go super in depth because I have most of the same teams you have for most of the same reasons that you have them. Pistons, obviously. Wizards, obviously. Hornets, obviously. Raptors just made those moves to start tanking pretty much, so they're out of it. The Nets, I don't know what the Nets are doing. Personally, I'm fine with that because I'm a Rockets fan. We got all their picks for the next 7 years, so they can do whatever they want, really. But if I was them, I would trade. Oh, but they can't just tank. They can't trade their good guys and tank because we have their picks. But they're also not good enough to compete, so they're in a messy situation.
I think that they'll be good down the line. I think that they're building the right way. I think that Mikhail's good. I think Cam is good. I think Claxton's really good. And now that they got out of the weeds with Kyrie, Harden, and KD, you're seeing that. And I think that if they make the right moves, which again I'll get into some players I think they should trade. If they make the right moves, I think it's going to take a little time. I think 4 or 5 years they'll be competitors in the East.
Not with those guys, man. Not with those guys.
You don't think so?
Those guys are good. I like those guys, but they're nothing more than like McCall is like his ceiling is like an all-star. Like he might make the all-star this year.
I don't disagree at all. But you never know what happens with free agency, especially because their cap is not that high right now. Like they're not paying all these guys max contracts where they could go out and sign a young star in the free agency in the next few years, or even draft the right person to fit McCall. I mean, look at the Knicks. The Knicks are contenders.
They can't draft anybody, actually.
Well, you guys have all their picks, but you never know. They can make a draft night trade with one of these guys to get out of the rut that they're in. But again, you look at the Knicks. The Knicks, they have one legitimate all-star in Jalen Brunson, but look at what they're doing. I think it comes down to chemistry. And I think that, right now DFS and McCall and Cam Johnson are awesome together, them three. But I do think that they're going to move DFS, and I think that there's certain systems that he could fit in and would benefit in.
I think their management needs some kind of change because 2 major mistakes that I've seen them make in the past this offseason, they could have hired Ime Udoka. They didn't do it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't remember the reason why they didn't do it. Maybe it was because of the controversy he had. I don't know. Big mistake. The second mistake they made was not trading Mikal Bridges to Portland for the 3rd overall pick, which would have landed them Scoot Henderson.
Yeah.
If you get Scoot Henderson and hire Ime Udoka, their future is looking ridiculously different right now.
Yeah, I agree.
Stuck in purgatory, but whatever. They're 2-8 in their last 10. They're not doing great. But anyway, then the Bulls, I don't have contending. Same reasons you got. Magic, I don't see them contending unless they make some kind of super move before the trade deadline. Mm-hmm. But I don't see any realistic super move for them to make.
Okay.
The only reason I'm gonna we'll get to that later, but yeah, that's all my non-contenders, I guess.
Okay, so I'm gonna go up from seeding because I do believe every team from 8 to 1 I do have contending. And I think that's because the East is very, very weak this year. And if one team can pull out the right move, I think it's going to be a lot. They're going to go crazy. So I'm going to start with 8, and I'm going to start with the Magic. The only reason I do see them contending is because they have so much depth for such a young team that I don't think that there are many teams in the NBA with that young of depth. Every player off their bench. I mean, you have a guy like Cole Anthony, who's 23 years old, maybe 24, who's coming off your bench as your sixth man. And then you continue to go down the line with 24, 25, 26-year-olds. You're not old. So those guys could outplay those vets in when it comes to, primetime minutes. When you go down the stretch against, let's say the seeding worked out right now where they're playing the Celtics. Listen, Drew Holiday's an amazing player, but he's not going to give you the entire game. And you got young guys. I don't think he does. I don't think he gives you the entire game against a young team like that where they're constantly running, constantly moving. Because if you look at their team, they're not set on one thing. You look at what the Warriors did when they won the finals. The Warriors were set on being a 3-point shooting team. You knew how to defend them. This team they're all around. I think that every player in that team could do just about anything except for Markelle Fultz. Can't shoot to save his life. We all know that. But again, their young guards they're constant. They're constantly moving. You have Jalen Suggs, you have Cole Anthony, and Markelle Fultz. All three of those guys are constantly running around the court. And again, young team. I think that young teams are taking over the NBA a little bit. I think they're taking over all sports. But I do see them again. They've been a little bit of a powerhouse in out of all the other young teams in the NBA outside of the Rockets, which again we'll get to in the next episode. I think that they're a little bit of a powerhouse when it comes to young rosters. So I see them, you never know. They could possibly make a run. You don't know who that 1 seed will be, or even if they're, what team they're playing because of the play-in tournament. So you never know what's going to happen in the playoffs. That's a big thing. And again, look at what the Atlanta Hawks did when they were a young team. They made a run in the playoffs. They went to the conference finals when they had Trey, when they had Hunter, Cam Reddish, and Herter. And again, they had that vet in Capella at center. And I think what's better for the Magic is that, you have Paolo, who's big at power forward, and you have Wendell Carter, who can stretch the floor, which Capella couldn't do.
Okay. I definitely see what you're saying. And I love the Magic, too. I love their roster. I was a big Paolo guy. I was hyped when, he was supposed to go third, but then he didn't anyway. I just think the fact that they are so young, they don't have the experience, None of these guys have seen the playoffs. None of these guys, they're just too young. That's my thing. I love them. And I think down the line, 100%, they're going to make a finals run at some point. But I think it's just too early for that right now.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I don't disagree, but at the same time, I feel like the East is just so weak that you have the top 3 teams. You have the Bucks, you have the Celtics, you have the Sixers, and obviously everybody's going to go, these 3 teams are guaranteed. But I also have a team that I think is guaranteed over those 3 teams, which is I think people know what I'm going to say by saying that. But again, you never know. Again, we saw the Hawks when they were young, when they had Herter, when they had Trey, when they had Cam, all them, and they made the Eastern Conference Finals. Obviously, they had the one vet in Gallinari playing for them and Capella, but I think you never know. That's what I'm going to say. You never know, especially in a 7-game series. God forbid somebody goes down the Celtics, and that's what they have first round. If KP goes down, who's playing big man? Luke Cornett. You trust Luke Cornett against the Magic? They're going to outrun him. He's 7'2". He can't contend there. But I'm going to move up to the Pacers. Pacers are at 7. I think that with the new trade, you let it roll. That Siakam trade is going to benefit you. I think the only thing is you go for a small forward. I believe Andrew Nembhard is their starting small forward right now, and I don't think that he does anything for you. They have Benedict Mathurin, who doesn't start for them right now. You have McConnell off the bench. So I think if you can try to get a small forward, and honestly, I think this might be a controversial take. If you try to trade for maybe a guy like Isaac Okoro instead of, and I don't think he's that good because I'm going to go on to the Cavs and say why I think they should trade him. But if you try to get a guy like Isaac Okoro, I think he is better for you than Andrew Nembhard because of defense. And again, I think you just let it roll right now. That East is weak. You just took the best player off the Raptors, so you never know what Halliburton and Siakam could do together with the young talent on their bench too. And Miles Turner is your vet right there. And, he could do anything for you as a center, too. He could stretch the floor a little bit. The only thing is he has to stay healthy. If he doesn't stay healthy, I think the Pacers are out of contention fully.
Yeah, I fully agree with that. For me, the Pacers could definitely make a crazy run. Halliburton's been insane this year. Siakam is a great guy, all-star. Siakam even said, outside of KD, the other person you'd want to play with, that fits his game is Miles Turner. So hopefully that could open things up for him. I know they're 0-3 since the trade happened, but that always happens when somebody first starts with a team.
I believe Halliburton missed one of those games, maybe 2. I believe there was a game where he sat too. So
even that too. So once James Harden got traded to the Clippers, they lost 5 or 6 straight. But then look at them after that; they've been insane since. So you always got to give it a few games to have them work it out. So I think they'll be fine. Definitely could make a run. I like them a lot.
Yeah, listen, again, you never know, especially this East is so weak. And though that two big men that could stretch the floor like that, Siakam could do anything you need him to, really, offensively at least. And, Miles Turner is a lot down the paint. You go into the paint, he's probably swatting you at least twice of the 5 times you're going there. So, again, I think that you just let that roll. That team is in a good situation now. I think that, it's going to be hard with re-signing Siakam in the offseason because he wants a max deal. If you give him 2-3 years, maybe, then it could be smart for you. If you have to give him the 5 years, I think that might, you might drop down to the bottom of the Eastern Conference again. But I'm going to move on to the next team, and that next team is one of the teams I think can go to the finals again, and that is the Miami Heat after that trade. I think that trade is amazing. People were talking to me yesterday saying how they don't think that trade benefits them because, Kyle Lowry's a defender. And listen, Rozier I believe he's averaging like 23 points this year. So obviously he's not going to average 23 points in the system, but if Tyler Hero or a guy of that caliber goes down in the playoffs, because again, they made it without Hero last year, if he goes down, you now have this scorer in Terry Rozier that you did not have in Kyle Lowry. You're not relying on Bam, who's not really that big of an offensive center to do everything for you. You can now rely on Terry Rozier, who's a proven guy, especially in the playoffs. You got to remember what he did with the Celtics in the playoffs with Isaiah Thomas, and even the year that Kyrie Irving went down. You got to look at how good Terry Rozier really is. I think that he's going to be one of the biggest pieces for them, especially in a long playoff run. And I do think that they can push for the finals again. I don't think that they're that far off from doing it, before they got him with Hero back. But I think if Hero goes down, or if Duncan Robinson or one of those scorers goes down, especially with losing Gabe Vincent on them, I think that Terry Rozier takes that leap, and I think he helps you take that leap. The only thing I think they have to do is push from the top of the Eastern, or the bottom of the Eastern Conference. They're at 6 right now, to the top 4 seeds, because you don't want to see one of those better teams in the first round.
Yeah, again, I fully agree with that. As long as Jimmy's on that team, they have the capability of making the finals.
Yeah.
Because that man is ridiculous in
He's
the
a
postseason. And you put weapons like Terry Rozier around him. Now, Terry Rozier is not this like great player, but he's something that they've been missing. He's just a microwave scorer.
He's a proven guy too, man. He's a good NBA player.
Great shooter, just good overall scorer, which is something that they've really lacked when they've been missing Hero. Like when they have Hero, they could go to him, even though I would say that Rozier is a better scorer than him. But a lot of the times their offense has just been lacking, and that's lost them big games. And now that they have a guy like that who could pretty much just heat up whenever he wants, those moments won't be as often. So it'll be hard to stop a team like that.
I also think that now is the opportunity for them to help develop Nikola Jovic going into the playoffs. Because if you got I believe he's 6'10", if you have a guy like that, your small forward lighting up threes, because everybody knows he has the capability to do it. I want him on the Nuggets because he's played with Jokic. If you have that guy coming into the playoffs off your bench and giving you a solid 10 to 15 minutes, you're set, man. Going down the line, you're set with him and Rozier being able to give you those points that, when Jimmy needs a break, when Tyler Hero needs a break, when Robinson needs a break, when Bam needs a break. Those guys are awesome to have. I'm going to move on to the next seed, which is the New York Knicks. And I know that you and I had talked about this, and I'm going to talk about a big trade. I'm going to try to get it up here on screen. One of my coworkers, John Jastrzemski, the voice of the New York podcast, also on WFAN and a part of SNY's crew, he had a trade to get Spencer Dinwiddie. And I believe it was Evan Fournier in the trade, a second-round pick, and Ryan Arcidiacono. And for Spencer listen, I'm a big Spencer Dinwiddie guy. Loved him, always have, since he was on that Nets playoff team with D'Angelo Russell. I like Spencer Dinwiddie. But I also think that after trading away Emmanuel quickly, they need the guard depth bench, or the guard depth on the bench. And listen, Deuce McBride's good. He's a second-round pick. He's still proving himself a little bit. But if you get a guy like Dinwiddie, and I also think one more thing you do, if he is not traded by the Hornets, you try to sign Kyle Lowry right away. So now you have your 1 and 2 guards off the bench. And even if Lowry's not going to play all these minutes for you, what he can do is he can now help Deuce McBride, especially when it comes down to the playoffs, because they're in the playoffs. I think they're set. They're going to be there for a while. I think that he will help Deuce McBride. But again, I would love, if I'm the Knicks, Spencer Dinwiddie. I would love Kyle Lowry. And I also think a big move is to get another backup center right now. Don't think Jericho Sims is that guy for you. Precious is good. I'm not saying he's bad, but he's 6'9". He's not doing much when Hartenstein gets in foul trouble. He's not going to, dominate the paint. And I think if you're going to get a small center like that, the guy you should go after Go after the Bulls backup center right now. Try to get Andre Drummond. Drummond's going to give you a solid 10, 15 minutes. And again, he's another guy that could help Hartenstein out down the stretch. So again, I like that trade by JJ. And I would love, if I'm them, to get Kyle Lowry. I would love to get a backup center. And again, if you're going to go after another guy, go after Bruce Brown. They said that they wanted to trade him. You guys have the draft capital to get him from the Raptors now. Go get Bruce Brown.
Yeah, I fully agree with that. I think they need to make a few moves to be like full contenders. I don't think they could take down like the Bucks, the Sixers, the Celtics right now. I mean, anything's possible, but I would love to see them get that backup guard, whether it's Spencer Dinwiddie or like a Jordan Clarkson, somebody like that to back up Jalen Brunson would be really, really nice. There's still hope that Mitchell Robinson comes back because they didn't get that what's it called, the injured exception.
Yeah, the cap space.
So there's hope that he could come back. So maybe they don't really need a backup center.
I wouldn't push for him to come back though. If I'm in that situation, I'm not pushing for Mitchell Robinson to come back after an injury like that when he's known to be injury prone.
Yeah. But I mean, there's just hope that he comes back. Like you said, I wouldn't push him to come back either, but you gotta hope.
I think the Knicks are fully built off chemistry right now. And the only reason I think they take down a team like the Celtics, maybe not the Bucks, but a team like the 76ers too, is especially if you make those trades, that team has so much chemistry right now, and defensively they're so sound. Josh Hart's a great defender. OG Anunoby has come back and just made a defensive presence for from when they got him for RJ. And again, Hartenstein's a paint presence. He's literally there to get rebounds and block people, and he's doing a phenomenal job doing that. So I think that
I'm just saying, Isaiah Hartenstein got postered twice when they played the Rockets.
Okay. All right, they know how to pick him up hard. He was there. They know his weaknesses. Okay.
Embiid is eating him alive.
All right. All right. Now, see, we're gonna argue. Let's wait to argue.
Okay.
But again, I think that the Knicks right now, with the chemistry that they have built throughout this roster, is amazing, and I think that could help lead a team. Obviously, I'll say it. The Nuggets did it last year. Chemistry built. Obviously, Nikola Jokic, who's arguably the best player in the NBA, so it's hard. But again, you never know. Jalen Brunson could put up 30 in any game he chooses to. But now you also have a guy like OG who give you 17. Randall could give you 17. Randomly, Dante DiVincenzo could hit 5 to 10 threes for you, and you don't even see it coming. Josh Hart, great defender. OG, great defender. Dante's not that bad of a defender on the wing either. And again, Brunson's small, but he plays pesty defense, man. So I think that they have the talent and the defense to beat teams in the playoffs. Maybe not. Again, I think it's hard with the Bucks because who's stopping Giannis? OG's going to be the biggest competitor there. The Giannis has 5 inches on him, so it's going to be crazy to stop him.
Yeah.
But again, I think that the Knicks could make a run. And, I'm a big Knicks hater at times because of my brother. But I do think that if they make the right moves, if you get a guy like Dinwiddie to, give even if you do get Dinwiddie, man, he's a big guard. You could put him in when Brunson needs the rest on defense late in the game. So that is my take with the Knicks. I'm going to move on to the Cavs, though. I don't know what's happening with the Cavs. Spider might get moved. He might not. We don't know what's happening. Every team is contacting them for him. But what I do think they do is, especially with Ricky Rubio retiring, you go get a backup point guard now. And I think one guy that they want to target, which is actually very smart, is former Nugget Monte Morris. Monte Morris is a spark plug off the bench. Listen, not going to be the best defensive point guard because he's not good defensively, but he's going to give you threes when you need them. So again, I don't know what's going to happen with Donovan Mitchell. Nobody does. He's in trade talks. He's not in trade talks. Teams are reaching out. I don't know what you get for him. I think that you're in a good place now to contend. So if you do get rid of him, it doesn't really make sense because now you're dropping your team back to, again, maybe in mid-bottom of the Eastern Conference. I also think that you try to replace Isaac Okoro with a taller body. Cam Johnson, maybe Dorian Finney-Smith, 2 guys from the Nets. I think if you get one of them, I think Cam Johnson would be your main focus because, again, a 6'8", 6'10" body, shoots threes, plays decent defense. You get him there, your team is massive with Mobley, Jared Allen, and Cam Johnson, but he can also spread the floor. Mobley has a decent jump shot. You get Monte Morris coming off the bench for you. Again, I don't know what happens with Donovan Mitchell, so I'm going to leave them at possible contenders. They're sitting at the 4 seed right now. They actually have less wins, but less losses than the Knicks, so they're probably going to be, I don't know if they actually contend for the finals. I think maybe get past the first round if they can, and that might be it. But if they move Spider, they're done. I think that's it. There goes their playoff run.
Oh, yeah, 100%. If Spider's gone, yeah, it's over. unless they get some kind of crazy all-star return for him, which they won't because they're sellers, not buyers.
Yeah.
But yeah, I wouldn't really have them contending, but I can't say that they're 100% not either,
Yeah.
just in case, because as long as they have Spida, they're in that conversation. But yeah, again, if they move him, adios. We'll
I think
see.
that
We'll see you drafting Andrew Wiggins again.
if they get the right package for Spida, they could possibly, if you're getting 3 very, very good role players, which I don't see that happening. If you are, though, then it might make sense, but it doesn't make sense to move him. I think, hot take, again, I think Okoro needs to get out of there. If you're going to move anybody, you move one of your bigs, because that was the main factor of them not working last year was Mobley and Allen played like garbage in playoffs. Try to move Allen if you can't get as much as you want for him. Move Mobley's a young body. I think that you could send him to a team that wants to rebuild, and I know that you want him, obviously, because he's a great big, but if you can move him to a team that rebuilds and you can get a star back for him, maybe you do that. And again, I think the small backcourt doesn't really help with Spida and Garland, but again, I think that they might get past the first round. If they don't, then who knows what happens with them within the next year. Moving on to the next team, though, the Philadelphia 76ers. It's hard to say. Listen, they're so hot right now in the regular season. I think that it's hit or miss with you. Move Tobias Harris and you try to get a role player or two for him that players with the likes of Kelly Oubre, who is proven to be dominant this year. You move Toby, or you just keep riding Joel Embiid and Ayo, and you keep they're hot. Maxey showed that he's a great guard in the Eastern Conference, and you might just stay with that team. Melton's playing fine for you. Oubre's playing amazing when he's healthy. So it's either move Toby or just keep rolling.
Yeah, I agree with that. Obviously, the top 3 teams are all like heavy contenders. Those are the heavy hitters up there. 76ers. Yeah, like you said, if they can move Toby, move some guys around, as long as they keep, Maxey and Embiid, obviously they're not going to trade him. Oubre has been great this year.
Toby's also helped them win big games. The game against the Nuggets, he went 8 for 10, man. Like the thing is, he is so hit or miss that's going to be the make or break point.
Yeah.
But I also don't think that Joel Embiid plays that well with all-stars. And it's been proven. Ben Simmons was an all-star. What did they do? Again, they went to the Eastern Conference Finals. I said, okay, but he was because when Ben Simmons was in his prime, I guess you'd call it, he played amazing. He was a 6'10" point guard that played great defense, and his court vision was amazing. I'm not saying score, but again, you look at that team, and I know it was an Eastern Conference Finals loss, but you look at that team, and Jimmy Butler was there. Jimmy Butler made the finals with Bam and Tyler Hero twice now. So you're telling me that Joel Embiid could not be, and again, I know it's Kawhi Leonard, and I know that Raptors team was very good, but it's been proven. You had James Harden. Why didn't you go to the finals with James Harden? I don't know if that, you could say that James Harden was a cancer to his team, but I think that it might come down to a point that if they do get another star, or we'll say all-star, that, Joel Embiid might be the problem.
I'm not listening to that crap, man.
Okay, so then we'll move on to the Bucks then. Doc Rivers?
Yeah.
Good luck. That's all.
Yeah.
I don't.
You know what? I had them as contenders. They just signed Doc Rivers. Never mind.
Yeah. Honestly, I'm gonna say good luck. I think Doc Rivers might be the worst coach I've ever witnessed. Again, yeah, okay, he won the finals with the Celtics. I could have won the finals with the Celtics coaching that team. That was probably the second, third super team we've ever seen formed. You had the best shooter in the NBA. The only person that was bad in that starting 5 was their center. Kendrick Perkins sucks. He always has sucked. But again, you have Ray Allen. You have the best court vision point guard in the NBA at the time outside of Steve Nash and Rajon Rondo. Kevin Garnett, who's the top 3 power forward of all time. And then you had Paul Pierce, who at the time was the top 3 small forward, probably a top 10 to 15 small forward all time. It's so easy to win with that team. Then you go and lose with the Clippers. You go and lose with the Clippers again. You lose it. I believe there's another team in that span that he lost to. Terrible. He's an awful coach. That's it. Now, what are they going to do with him? Unless Giannis carries him and he just sits his ass on the bench and doesn't say a word, then we're good. But if he doesn't do that, the Bucks are out. If he tries to actually coach, Bucks are gone.
To be fair, that is what happened with Mike Budenholzer. That is what happened. I wanted him to get fired the year they won the championship, and then they won the championship, and I was like, well, he's keeping his job. So who knows?
Again, I think that unless Dame and again, Dame doesn't have that clutch factor. Yes, he hits big game-winning shots. He's never done anything in Portland. I know he never had a player as good as Giannis, but we shall see what happens with Doc Rivers. And obviously, my last team in contention is the Celtics. Everybody knows why. I think that you got to be careful with injuries. So the two people that I would push for if I'm them is I push for Kyle Lowry. If I don't get him in a trade, then I try to sign him off the bench. Payne Pritchard's good, but he helps you out when Drew Holiday either goes down because he's also injury prone, or if Drew Holiday gets tired, he gives you 10 minutes off the bench. Another guy, if Porzingis goes down, you go get Andre Drummond. I know he's a vet. I know he's old, but he's also a paint presence, which is what Porzingis is. Obviously, Porzingis spreads the floor with you, but when you have a scorer like Jason Tatum, when you have a scorer like Jaylen Brown, you don't need your center to do that much for you.
Yeah. The Celtics are probably my favorites to make it out of the East. I think their team is just so good, man. They're like
The Nuggets, but
I said out of the East. I said out of the East. Not to win the championship. I said out of the East. Like when you just look at their team, it's like, man.
On paper, they have the best roster. We'll go starting five. They have the best starting five in the NBA. And I don't think it's close. I think outside of chemistry, it's not close.
Yeah, no, not close at all. They managed to keep pretty much everybody from last year that was important to their team and either upgrade the guys that left or just completely replace someone. I don't know how they managed to do that.
Derek White stepped up this year too, man. I don't think anybody in the world saw that coming. He's playing so well.
Yeah, he's great. Love that guy. So, outside of, hopefully nobody gets injured, they're definitely my favorites to make it out of the East.
Yeah, I agree. All right. That's all that I have for the Eastern Conference. Do you have any final points for Eastern Conference teams?
The only team that I did not talk about that I still have possibly contending is the Hawks. They're obviously looking to move DeJounte. I don't think they're going to get much for him, though, at this point. If that changes somehow and you get good pieces around Trae, I think as long as you have someone like Trae Young, you're always in the conversation.
Yeah, I agree.
So I'm not going to say they're completely out of it, but it's going to be they're fighting a losing battle. I don't think
it's time to move on from all your old guy. You get rid of Capella now. I think if they do find a way to get rid of Capella, and I love Capella, but if you find a way to get rid of Capella and DeJounte before the deadline, and you keep Hunter, Griffin, and Trey, and you get the right pieces around them, and keep Onyeka, I think that they can contend. If they don't do that, I think they're out.
Exactly, and that's why I'm not going to have them not contending, but I'm also not going to have them as contend. They're literally you get what I'm trying to say.
I agree.
The moves need to be made.
And if they're not, if they're not, then they're out.
Yeah, 100%.
All right, guys. Well, that's been all for our Eastern Conference episode of A&E Podcast. For Bailey Driscoll, I'm Tom Luther, and we will see you soon on our Western Conference updates.
Peace.